You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
You're listening to Mission Log the Orville, an episode-by-episode discussion of the adventures of the crew of the USS Orville.
Welcome to another episode of Mission Log the Orville. Join us as we talk about Firestorm for meanings, morals, messages, and to see if it aligns with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy. I'm Jessica Lynn Verdi, I think.
And I'm Mike Richards, and that was really cool. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation today. A conversation that depends on your participation. Share your thoughts, ideas. Tell us what we missed, because we always miss something. I always miss something. Jessica's on it all. She never misses anything.
Don't speak for me.
But I always miss things. So let us know. Let me know how great Jessica did and what I missed at ML_the Orville on Twitter.
You don't miss things, Mike.
Mission Log Pod on Facebook. Email us at missionlog-theorville@roddenberry.com. And if you're watching this on Roddenberry YouTube channel, hit like and subscribe. And remember, we may use your comments on an upcoming episode. We may even use your comment on an upcoming episode and use the wrong name and say somebody else made that comment. And we'll try not to do that again. Yeah, I did that last time.
Can you want to retcon it right now?
At least a couple of times again. Yes, Dr. Schluss made the comment about beer being invented thousands of years earlier than the monks by the Sumerians. Mm-hmm. I credited the monks. And I also credited that comment to BC.
Got
who
it.
Did not make it. However,
so we love BC's contributions as well.
Do, and we also love Dr. Schluss, who's a very interesting guy. So
they can interact with us because they're a member of the Mission Log Patreon too. So let's not forget that little nugget that they wanted to join that.
Yeah, so Patreon/Mission Log, and join that, get in on the conversation. You know, we meet every Thursday night for about an hour and a half and just kind of chat about, all things pop culture. And it is a lot of fun. So please, please, please join us there. And to give us all something to talk about, here is Jessica Lynn Verdi with the recap.
Firestorm. We open on another peaceful day on the bridge of the Orville. Oh my God, what am I saying? A gigantic screensaver of plasma storm is rocking the ship around, and the crew is getting knocked around pretty good too. Especially this guy in engineering who is literally trapped under a piece of set, aka a jar of pickles that only Alara Kitan can open. She hustles to engineering. Newton points to the downed man, and just as Alara goes to help him, a major explosion occurs. A fire starts, and Alara is frozen in place. The fire dies down, and Alara is able to resume the rescue, but not in time. The man she was supposed to save is dead. Act 1. Well, that was no simulation. Lieutenant Payne's memorial is attended by the entire ship. And not only was he Engineer Newton's best friend, he was also the kind of guy who would be cool with making a pun out of his name in order to talk about how painful his death was. The stoic crew listens on with reverence, and even though she is also there, we can see that Alara is far away in her thoughts. A concerned Kelly and Claire visit Alara in her simulated boxing gym to offer some support, hoping to ease Alara's sense of guilt with regards to Lieutenant Payne's death. That if she didn't make the decisions she did, she could be possibly dead too. But what they don't understand is Alara froze. The fire scared her more than she had ever been scared in her life. And despite Claire's suggestion to talk to someone about how she's feeling, Alara pushes them away and continues to batter the poor simulated punching bag. That was a fun sentence.
That punching bag deserved whatever it was getting.
Clearly. Alara interrupts the captain as he's writing the worst form letter of condolence possible, and she offers her resignation, citing that she isn't fit to be head of security, that her fear is the reason that Payne is dead. The captain refuses her resignation, probably because he's scared of her not being there if he gets rushed by an angry Mocklin. He tells her to take off some time to do some psychological digging as to why she was afraid of the fire, assuring her that she is still his chief of security. A call to the parents it is. Not only do we learn that Alara was in a dramatic fire as a baby that she doesn't remember, her parents don't necessarily approve of her choice to be in the fleet. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Cut to, wait, why is there a clown at the end of the hallway? Why is it staring down at Laura? And when did we start watching the movie It? The clown charges Alara, runs into her, rounds the corner, and disappears. What the actual heck? Act 2. Okay, so Alara thinks that was as crazy as we think it was, and she goes to the bridge to insist that the captain relieve her of duty. When she tells him why, Lamar turns around sharing the fact that he does not like clowns. Everyone is disturbed, and instead of agreeing that Alara has gone crazy, they suggest that they check the security logs to see any sign of a clown. And yep, there it is, and it is frightening, even to Lamar.
Especially to Lamar,
to be fair. The crew splits up to look for the clown and are instructed to be cautious of pies, balloon animals, and seltzer water. You know, normal clown things. Bortus and Alara head to a darkened, creepy shuttle bay. The lights will not turn on, so they proceed with flashlights. As Alara searches the lower decks, she is confronted once again by the clown, whose green teeth are honestly the most horrific thing about it. He tackles Alara. They struggle for the upper hand as her weapon gets pushed away. Finally, she's able to steady her weapon on the clown, shoots, and he disintegrates right in front of her. Act 3. The ship is put on yellow alert even though the clown has been destroyed. But who knows? There may be more clowns. Kelly asks Alara if she wants to get a drink later in the mess hall to unwind. And yes, a drink sounds like the best medicine after something like that. Kelly heads to her quarters to get ready, and as she steps into her room, she falls into a void. Because, you know, that's normal. No room, no shower, just pitch black. Alara rescues her in time, but what just happened is impossible. So Ed suggests that something isn't wrong with reality. Something is wrong with the crew. Claire agrees to do a brain scan of everyone just to be sure, starting with Alara. Claire goes from good doctor to bad doctor, locking Alara in place on the bed and menacingly stepping out to get her, quote, instruments. In the nick of time, Dr. Park steps in and confirms our fears that this should not be happening. But when he tries to release Alara, he too is restrained from the system. A shot is fired, Park is downed, Claire is the shooter, and Alara can do nothing but watch and be surgeried on by a crazy doctor.
Crazy.
I liked surgeried. Act 4. For some reason, Claire thinks she needs to start a brain surgery by putting a scalpel to Alara's stomach. And just as the blade is about to puncture skin, Alara is able to finally break free from her shackles and subdue the crazy Claire. A locked-up crazy Claire is no less scary than Mad Dr. Claire, as she proves by being thrown in the brig and warns of untold horrors lurking in the dark, waiting for the crew, but specifically Alara. Ed needs answers, and he needs them now, but very few are available. When discussing with the group what might be going on, Kelly hypothesizes that perhaps the plasma storm has somehow frayed the differences between reality and imagination. Since nothing else seems to make sense, it's the reigning theory, and oh my god, what the heck, spiders now? Giant spiders are now infesting the ready room. Oh my god, and one just fell on Gordon's face? Oh, they run out to grab weapons, but when they return seconds later, the room is completely empty. What is going on, Mike? The only lead they have to go on is the plasma storm. So the crew decides to steer the ship back into it to see if they can get a hold on the situation. Weapons in hand, Alara and Gordon set off to somewhere, I don't remember. The spider attack really riled him up, but he tries not to panic so as to not make any mistakes. Oops, perhaps not the best thing to say that to someone who panicked and made a mistake that may have cost a life. Gordon takes this as his turn to tell Alara it wasn't her fault. The doors open to the elevator, and oh my god, a spider twice the size of a human spills out. They run, and despite Gordon quitting the job right then and there, the spider doesn't care, knocks him down, and swallows him whole. At least this one wasn't Alara's fault, right?
Right.
Yeah. Act 5. She attempts to reach the bridge, but no one responds. When she arrives, no one is there. They are approaching this plasma storm, but nothing which suggests the ship is equipped to handle this second go-around. A whip of plasma knocks out the lights on the ship, and Alara sets out by herself in search of anyone. Everywhere is deserted, even engineering. Oh, wait, no. Isaac is there. Okay. Yeah.
That freaked me out.
It is freaky. The power supply is knocked out, but Isaac can reroute power from the comm scanners in hopes of getting some information from the ship's logs as to what happened to the rest of the crew. Alara shares with Isaac that she watched Gordon die, and he apologizes for her to have gone through that, but urges that they move quickly in case the alien creature should reappear. Wait, Alara didn't tell him that it was a creature that killed Gordon, just that Gordon was dead. How did Isaac know that? Oh my God, Isaac is the reason everything has been happening? Well, time for a strong battle. The two go at it, and it is brutal. But finally, Alara is able to also subdue Isaac, well, momentarily. She arms herself with a heavy-duty weapon that could vaporize him and threatens to do so. His blue eyes turn to red. He approaches her. She shoots, and now I think he's done, right? I think. He's done, yeah. The plasma storm rages outside and rocks the ship. The computer commands for an evacuation. Alara runs down the hall. The camera pans up to reveal the captain, Kelly, Isaac, and Claire watching her from above. Act 6. Oh my God, Fuse. It's a simulation. But Claire commands Isaac to shut it down, that Alara's adrenaline levels are dangerously high. Isaac informs them that they are unable to shut it down, that Alara has invoked Directive 38, which allows her to override any commands from the captain. The only way to end this is for her to complete the simulation. Alara makes it to the shuttle bay. She uses her comm scanner to turn on the command desk. But as she is opening the shuttle bay doors and attempts to ready her evacuation, lightning cracks, and behind her is evil Isaac. Freaky again. He grabs her, and they fight again, and she is able to escape his grasp and run towards the shuttle. Just as she is about to take off, Isaac places an explosive directly in her path. He shoots the explosives, and fire erupts in front of the open shuttle bay doors. Crap. Alara looks at
a
what?
Firestorm, if you will.
Oh, because the plasma and then the fire. I got it. Alara looks ahead of her, takes a deep breath, and just as we think she might freeze again, she's able to steer the shuttle straight through the fire and out of the Orville. And with no time to spare, because the plasma storm disintegrates the Orville, and she is spared. Oh, I get it. Time to spare. She's spared. I see what I did there. The simulation ends. A beat-up Alara stumbles and is confused by Ed, Kelly, Claire, and Isaac. Why did they do that to her? Isaac reveals that they did not, that she was the one that did that to herself. When asked if Alara remembers going to Ed's office after speaking to her parents about the fire, Alara responded that she does not. Alara was concerned that there were more fears that were below the surface that her parents didn't talk about, so she requested a simulation that would be built that could uncover these hidden fears, and she needed a memory wipe so that it felt real. It was built using fears from her fellow crewmates, Lamar in clowns, Claire in heights, Gordon in surgical horror, Ed in spiders, Kelly in isolation, Bortis, and Isaac. Well, that's revealing. Despite Alara feeling this necessary to help her to be a better chief of security, also surgery, she lied to Claire for the purpose of the memory wipe, and it was an abuse of Directive 38. She could be court-martialed on the spot. But she handled every situation like a boss, and she should have no doubt that she is more than capable in her position. So Ed's gonna let it slide. Renewed, Alara tells her captain that she'll see him in the morning. She heads to bed, falls asleep with a smile on her face.
Man, tough recap to get through. I think you handled it like a first-rate officer, like
my God,
top shelf. Just like Alara handled her.
I'm gonna hand in my resignation.
Simulation. I'm a little surprised you used the C word as much as you did. But
crazy
clown.
Oh, clowns don't scare me.
No, they don't scare me either. But what John said.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
don't
stop
saying
the C word.
Yeah.
So some things in this episode were done really, really well. Some other things that we'll get to in a little bit. But I found one of the things that really, really took me out of the episode was when Kelly said, want to get a drink in the mess hall? And Laura said, yeah. And she said, okay, I'm going to shower and change and meet you in 20 minutes. I am a man without hair to do, and I could not shower and change and get to the mess hall in 20 minutes. Huh. Is that realistic?
It's possible. It's realistic.
It is?
So she's not washing her hair.
Okay.
She's just showering off.
Right.
And she's just going to put some different clothes on. That
Okay.
because it seems like, Kelly's a drinker. We know Kelly to be a drinker, right?
Yep.
And so she really means it that she wants that drink. She just wants to brush off the day. So I can see her hair was still looking fine. She was just doing a rinse off.
It's time to go. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get the job off you before you go.
But you've got a good point that it's not 100. They also could have had a joke like, "I'll see you in 2 hours." No.
Yeah.
She also doesn't need to go get a shower. Sometimes just go get a drink, Kelly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty funny.
So Captain Ed Mercer, made the comment, "I'm not a writer." He is right about that. Although Seth MacFarlane is quite a talented writer. This episode was written by Sherry Chiva Pravat Dumrong. And that took a good chunk of my afternoon to learn how to pronounce that. And you can see that it is actually referenced several times in Family Guy, who she is an executive producer of.
Oh,
and that's kind of an inside joke now and then. Yale, Bachelor of Science in Psychology, NYU Law.
What?
Like the people who work on this show, I think the people that work in entertainment are just, they're so much better than me.
Oh my God! I don't think that's a personal reflection on you for some reason, but I don't think it's the best to take that as a personal reflection on you.
Yeah, so just they've just attained things I'll never get to. But co-executive producer, and then she's actually moved up and executive produced an episode, and also executive producer on The Family Guy. Director on this one, Brannon Braga, who needs no introduction, and the score also by John Debney. It seems like they alternate weeks back and forth. A couple of guest stars, Robert Picardo, who played Captain Picard on 7 seasons of Star Trek Next Generation, as well as 4 movies. I'm just kidding. Robert Picardo played the EMH, the Emergency Medical Hologram, on Star Trek Voyager for 7 years, and 1 Star Trek Next Gen movie, made a cameo in First Contact. And Molly Hagan, who played the very first instance of the Vorta that we got introduced to way back in Deep Space Nine, the episode called Jem'Hadar.
And she's done so much work too, but I also looked that up because I was like, I'm sure she's got Star Trek tenure on under her belt, and they had written her to come back twice, but both times she wasn't available to come back and play that character. But it is pretty cool to see some Star Trek royalty come back. Robert Picardo as the dad is really very funny to me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he did a good job. He kind of had that same dry, condescending sense of humor, which may be okay for an EMH, without a lot of bedside manner. Not really probably the parenting that Alara needed at the moment.
No, totally not. And it is interesting. This is literally no slight against Robert Picardo, but I think he's really good in the wheelhouse that he is as an actor. And so he's not gonna, there's not a lot of, he's operating as the actor that he always operates as. And so it does, if they wanted him to be an unsupportive father who didn't think his daughter was smart, then they did a good job with
he did a great job with what he was supposed to do.
Funny.
And I think we've all had talks with our parents where you go to them for advice and you just get this weird continuous rambling of non sequiturs, and you just kind of react exactly like Alara Kitan reacted at the end, which was actually one of the things that I picked up in this episode that I liked, when he said, "Can you solve an argument for us? Am I starting to put on weight?" And zero response. Halston just kind of almost looked at the camera and was just like,
yeah,
I'm going for a walk. Like,
it's so good.
Fighting off a clown would be better than this right now. So I saw you worked Lower Decks into the recap.
Okay. So Lower Decks posits the perfect question as to the shape of the storage units. Because if they didn't want the storage units to get destroyed all the time or like disarrayed, then they should be stackable.
They should be stackable.
They shouldn't be cylindrical or like, it just doesn't make sense. And you can just tell, I have a hard time when I watch TV shows and you can tell that the paper cup of coffee doesn't have absolutely anything in it.
Right.
And,
yes.
And Alara moves the set piece off of Lieutenant Payne with no problem, but she's also, is a Leyan and she's super strong. So
super strong.
It's partly part of that she's able to move things swiftly, but all those storage pieces in the shuttle bay, boxes, they're stackable, and they only get destroyed because they get run into, but you can also tell that they're empty as well. I will say, however, the steel rod that Isaac takes to hit Alara when they're in engineering, that is frightening.
That was a good fight scene. It's always nice to see that kind of superhero, mashup where the two good people fight each other just to see who's stronger. And, normally, I heard Stan Lee say once you got to end that in a tie so that it doesn't, negatively impact the street cred of, whichever strong person didn't win the fight. So it was cool to see them, because I think there has been, we're only 10 episodes in, and I think they've made a couple of comments of, well, who on the ship is as strong as Alara, except maybe Isaac. So she put him down.
It is something we would want to see, and probably could only see in this scenario.
Yeah.
But reminder, at this point, we still don't know that it's a simulation. And yeah, you're totally right. Like, seeing them go toe to toe, that was some this whole episode, the score too, which I'm sure you may make reference to in your notes. It's a horror score as well.
This is very much a haunted house episode.
Yeah, totally. Thankfully, most of the things that they are dealing with aren't that freaky to me. And it's also a well-lit, bright TV show. I didn't get too horrified. But to harken back to what you said during the recap, every time Isaac showed up in the corner, it's like, oh God, it was freaky.
It was more disconcerting to me than the clown. I don't know if I have a fear of robots, or like Bortus being defeated by a superior enemy or what. But yeah, the creepiness of Isaac was very, very noticeable. And for the Lower Decks fans, or maybe people that aren't familiar with the reference, the season 2 episode, I believe, was called I Excretus, and they gave the Lower Decks folks, the junior crew members, a chance to go ahead and do top level stuff,
right? That's right.
High ranking officer tasks in kind of a team building environment, and they gave the senior officers Lower Decks tasks to complete. One of which was to stack a bunch of seemingly unstackable cargo bins in the cargo bay. So good call out there, and you can catch a conversation on that on Mission Log Live.
Yes, you can,
if you're so interested. So one of the things that's been bothering me about Alara, since we found her, yeah, she's super strong, but we finally got to address the elephant in the room about her, is that she's just so dumb.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
I know.
The way her parents treated her.
Oh, yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, it really was sad. And I don't know if they're super geniuses with super strength on Zalea as well. Her parents seemed kind of like academics, right? She said something about her dad being at going to something at the university. A conference at the university during the night of the fire. But they definitely did seem, educated, kind of looked down on military service. I didn't really like that. And Alara says, hey, humans see military service as honorable. And Dad says, humans, the hillbillies of the galaxy. So just, just one of those things that sadly, people here do as well. And it's something that I think we should, maybe not look down on.
Definitely a caste system response,
Yes.
They're beneath us.
Somebody's got to do it, but just not us. And I also noticed that they did refer to the Planetary Union, or at least the branch of it that the Orville is part of, as the military. Which is something that kind of goes back and forth in Star Trek. Sometimes it's the military, sometimes it's not,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
So back in the early days, back to season 1, Kirk was like, I'm a soldier, not a diplomat. And then, later on, it becomes maybe they are more diplomats in other roles, especially into next gen and newer stuff. But it always goes back and forth. You got the ship, it's heavily weaponized, it's, loaded for bear. If you want to say that's not military, that's fine. But, they've got lieutenants and captains and commanders and guns. I think it's pretty well military across the board.
It's so interesting because I think if I had thought of Star Trek as a military regime, I don't know how much I would enjoy it. And I remember that peaking for me too when I first watched this episode. I was like, oh, military. I guess that's right. It is. It is military. It's it's Space Force, and someone's got to do it. But yeah, I guess you can also reduce this the space career to calling it military, but it is so much more than that.
It definitely is, and even a lot of what the military does is not considered military. There's humanitarian efforts and stuff like that go on, and her dad shouldn't have been so condescending about it. I'm glad she stuck up for herself.
Well, it's nice to know more about her background too.
Yeah. So dad was kind of a douche. Mom was nice,
but she has her hang-ups as well too. Yeah. Less intellectually inclined. I don't know what she said. Something like,
"Yep,
I'm being intellectually uninclined at the moment as well."
Slow people. So everything that happens after that scene, because she walks out of there, she's in the hall, and she sees a clown. Mm-hmm. So everything from that scene on is a lie told to us by the writers.
Okay.
It's nice. It's nice to have a reveal. It's nice to have maybe a mystery to solve. But when you're just flat out not told something in a story, and then they tell you later, what do you think of that kind of storytelling device?
So it's a cop out so some people may know that I was part of the improv group, the improvised generation, where we had our own ship and our own crew. And a couple times in a row, I want to say, even when things kind of got out of hand on the ship, someone would be like, end simulation. Which is such a great cop out. It's so great. Like when the captain's dead and someone's getting hauled off by the Klingons. If you just call end simulation, nothing happened. That's so good. And I honestly don't know how in the context of how they used this storytelling mechanism, they can't do it again, right? With Next Generation, when we had done it so many times,
right?
We literally said no one's allowed to go into the holodeck anymore. But it makes sense. But you're totally right. For like 25 minutes, I'm like, this is not how the show started.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it takes a complete left turn into a whole different show. Honestly, a feeling of a show that it hadn't, that the Orville hadn't been yet. So it's. I don't know how wonderful it is to confuse your audience to that extent. You know what I mean?
I agree. In other holodeck episodes, I think it's obvious that something's taken control of it, or it's broken, or there was something, maybe you're in the holodeck and when you go through the plasma storm and then it breaks and you're stuck in there and the safeties are off.
Right.
I get things like that, but just to not tell you you're in the holodeck the whole time,
but I get it. And it's meant to make us feel as though we are her going through that as well. And successfully does achieve that.
Yes. And then pulls the rug right out from under you.
Totally. And we'll get more into that in the next section of like, really, what did we accomplish here? I think you have some really great thoughts on that. But ultimately, I think it's a kind of cool storytelling mechanism. And I think but again, I don't know if they accomplished 100% of what they wanted to with us by not making us trust them.
Yeah, I felt like there could have been better, and I don't have a writer's hat to put on, so I'm just an idiot that likes Star Trek and talking into a microphone
today, and I'm not going to let it happen.
That's my brand. So there could have been, I think, some better sort of streaks running through the show. I did like, it seemed like they threw like every, reference they could find at it. They had like a Lost reference when they said, is this purgatory? Well, how do you know what purgatory is like? Ever been married? Women, am I right?
The worst.
But for Ed and Kelly, I think they played off each other, very well there.
Totally.
There was that scene where Kelly walked out of or went to walk into her quarters and kind of fell, out into an abyss, which just kind of looked like open space to me. I wasn't really sure it looked like open space. That reminded me very much of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the episode where no one has gone before, which is the first appearance of the Traveler. And, this dude comes on, he's going to be able to fix the warp drive, but it turns out he's just a J-hole and, jackhole, whatever. And they were going to, use this guy, the Traveler, to prove their thing. And there was some reality shifts going on. So anyway, it looked almost exactly like that scene.
Sure.
And I really thought they were going to go down the way when Kelly was, talking out her butt. Although she was articulating quite well, I thought.
She was, for butt talk, yes.
Yeah, when she said, is it possible the damage to the ship may be more than structural? Could the storm have frayed some boundary between reality and something else? Light and shadow, science and superstition, the pit of a man's fears, and the summit of his knowledge. I mean, I thought they were going straight Twilight Zone with that reference.
Huh.
But they didn't really explore that. I thought maybe the idea of the plasma storm shifting reality somehow would have been, a better than just lying to us for 25 minutes. That's just
yes. Again, I do see why they did it. I know that they wanted us to feel like we were Alara. There could have been small hints that this was a simulation early on, that like something like, but again, we don't want to think that the simulation isn't working, but we could have seen something reset, or the clown, be in two places, and it should, like the Matrix with the deja vu when you see the cat run by twice or whatever. We could have had smaller hints to that, or we could have been thrown a red herring early with the plasma storm, cutting off the lights or something, so that we had a more real, clear and present threat from the plasma storm. I think they, I can see them putting a lot of, they not unlike a clown, did they stuff a lot into a car and then push that car onto the spotlight in this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good work done in this episode, and I really do believe that. When I went back and watched it the second time, I thought, okay, what are the tells? And about the only one I could come up with is that from that. And it might have been the whole entire episode, but definitely from the scene in the hallway with the clown where the simulation reportedly started. Alara was in every single scene. Even if the scene just started with Ed and Kelly talking to Dr. Finn, then they panned over and Alara was there.
Yep.
She was in every single scene, which is unusual in a show like this. But it did, I think, tell that all of this was happening with her present.
Oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
There was a little bit of a nod to Shore Leave, the original series episode, where if you imagine, a bunny from Alice in Wonderland, it's there. If you imagine, a couple of riders doing a Ren Fair joust, it's there. And Ed said, was anybody thinking about clowns or bottomless pits?
That's so funny, right? It was a good question.
Yeah.
Hey, Bones was never more than debonair in that episode, so.
Bones was,
getting it.
His problem was too many women, right? He had like the two Ren Fair babes, and then he also had that one red shirt female. I think she was a yeoman who was
all about it.
She was, and that was right after she was giving Kirk the back rub, I think, on the bridge chair. So I haven't seen that episode in a while. I have to go. I'll have to go back and see it.
You're right. She was in heat for sure.
But let's just say Kirk going, oh, Spock, oh yeah, right there, that's the spot. I think that started the whole Slash premise.
Oh, I can't blame that at all. I see it now.
And you mentioned in the recap, but my God, how freaky was Penny Johnson-Gerald as Dr. Giggles?
She unleashed this like scary place that actors can go. I'm sure as an actress, she was really excited to get to play that because it's just so different, you know.
Yeah.
She get to play really scared, and there's a lot of levels there, and she just nailed it.
She went from being in control in the operating room to trying to sort of take back control in the brig.
Yeah.
When she's like, I'm hungry. Can I get a pizza? Nobody's getting a pizza. Nobody. Good call, Captain. Fortis, come on, man. You don't have to react to everything they do. Also, you know, I mean, set design. We got to see a lot of the ship.
Yeah,
and we got to see it in like really cool lighting. I noticed the hallways had strips of lighting going down them. And sometimes it was, you know, sometimes there were two of them. It was maybe yellow and orange.
Right,
and then the yellow would continue and the orange would go off in a different direction. I don't know if you're an Ender's Game fan, but they described that in the book as far as being in the battle school. They had these, you know, the teams of kids, you know, learning to be the soldiers of the future were divided into different teams with different colors. So when they had to go somewhere, the hallways would kind of light up the color of their squadron so that they knew where to go and when to go. And I saw that same kind of thing, and it was great lighting. So when the overhead, the main power was out, and then all you had was that, it made just for a very, very ominous set. I thought it was really, really well done.
Yeah, totally agreed. That was the same kind of vibe I got. It was like directing you toward some things, directing your eye line, and I'm sure like all different departments got to flex some different skills than they normally would in this episode.
They did. They definitely got to do some things that they don't normally do. And a lot of it was done extremely well. The fight that you mentioned before between Isaac and Alara, that was really, really well choreographed.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was believable. You know, the shots that they were each getting in on each other was quite believable. I was wondering when, Alara took out that really cool, you know, phaser rifle and said, hey, I've got this on the highest setting, which, as you know, will vaporize you. And then it didn't vaporize him.
Yeah.
So that, to me, was a very kind of curious thing to happen.
I thought the same thing. I think, you know, it was like the not dramatic irony. I don't know. You're right. Like 3 times she was able to put him down, but he got up every time, right?
Yeah.
So
really, that probably should have been a clue to us also. Maybe they weren't pulling the rug out from under us as much as I thought they were.
Maybe we're just not really good viewers.
Yeah, other people are probably like, dude, what the hell, man? I saw this coming from Jump Street.
Totally. I think that maybe we're not the right people to talk about this. Yeah. Anything else you want to share with us before we talk about the deep meanings of this episode?
You know, the last thing I thought that I want to talk about that I didn't think we didn't cover already was they spent about a minute and a half at the end of the episode with Alara putting on her jammies and going to bed.
Yes. Okay. Totally.
So other times when somebody kind of goes to sleep at the end of a mind bleepery episode, and then they woke up, it turns out it was all a dream. Right. Was it all a dream?
I can't answer that, but I will say that it was a weird way to end the episode. How about that? I'll give you that. And like all I could think about was Halston Sage going to sleep and just go to sleep, smiling. Like
and
no
she was
way does
so
she fall
happy
asleep like
in her
that.
flannel space jammies. It was,
which looks super cute, by the way.
Yeah, she was so happy at the end, and maybe that's just what they were trying to show is that, man, if you've got issues, here's how you work them out, and then you can go to sleep happy that night. And I think that, unless you have anything to add, is a great time to transition to the next part of the show.
We're gonna transition and talk about the problematic nature of this episode.
Sure.
Don't go anywhere. All right, so we have come to the part of the show where we're going to explore the big ideas in Firestorm, as well as the messages, meanings, and morals to see if this episode aligns with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy. Mike, you got some hot takes.
Well, there's some big ideas in the show, and like I said, there's a lot of it is done very well, but I think in some regards it hits the mark. Some things that I like about it was right off the bat, Ed said to Alara when she came to him saying that she was afraid in the fire and blamed herself for the death of Lieutenant Payne. Captain Mercer said, people seem to think that being brave means not being afraid. The way I see it, if you're not afraid, there's nothing to be brave about. And we talked about this earlier in the episode about a girl when Ed literally stood up in the conference room to block, let me try this again, Mocklin Captain Vorak.
Ooh.
And you could tell, like the acting showed that he was afraid, but he was being brave. And I think that he's able to say that now out of experience as well as just, you know, sort of sage advice. So I think that was a great idea that came across kind of loud and clear in this episode that I wanted to point out as, you know,
like a success.
A success.
It is interesting, too, that you say that because he said, if I had an angry Mocklin charging at me, I would want you in between me and them. And that's a good point that you make, that he was. I mean, I think you and I did both. We were impacted by that moment because we want to see ourselves be the people that can stand up in a hard situation. We want to see ourselves as the hero of the situation. And you know, we also criticized Ed for assuming that Alara was too young to hold this position. And now I'm not going to disagree with that initial thought, because when you're 23, if you haven't had a relatively a hard life up to this point, which everything is relative, again, I'm not saying that you have to have a hard life, but if you're 23, how much have you gone through that prepares you to surmount difficult situations? I don't know. It makes me sound like I am judging her for her age too, but she clearly hasn't gone through a lot of things where she's had to push past something where she was afraid, you know? So
yeah. And there's age is often associated with experience, and those are different things. But they often are related to each other. And, you know, I mean, a real simple definition of learning is a change in behavior as the result of experience. Well, if you're very young, I think many people assume that you don't have a lot of experience. So how much could you possibly have learned? And I think that's kind of the crux of maybe ageism when you're looking at somebody younger. Now, you could be young. Somebody can be young and have many, 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 experiences behind them that help them learn. I think this was one that she hadn't had yet, and spent the rest of the episode trying to learn from. But he owned it in this one. He was like, "Look, when I first saw you, I was like, you're too young, you're too inexperienced." He was like, "Now I want nobody else." So when she came to him, and you know, as a leader, when somebody comes to you and asks for help, you need to help them, and he did that pretty well. I'll give him like a B+ on their meeting when she came to him to resign. He offered emotional support. He offered her time off to go do what she needed to do. He pointed her towards, I think, some of the right resources. Talk to Dr. Finn, talk to your parents, do some digging into this. And he said, "We've all been there, but if this is really eating you alive inside, go do some digging around." And he said, "You are still my chief of security. I don't want anyone else. Hear me?" Mm-hmm. That was his quote. So I just did some very simple math on that. He said, "You once." He said, "My once, I once, and me once." Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a 3-to-1 that indicates he was thinking more about his well-being and needing a good chief of security than he was about her well-being.
Yeah.
Now, is that too simple a way to do things, just counting pronouns?
No, I don't think so. I think he thought by saying that she is still the chief of security, he was bolstering her insecurity. So I can see why he might think that was the best way to handle the situation. And it's not always easy to just listen to how someone's feeling. And there is something, like, it's a very American way to handle something, like, hey, just get back out there, you'll be okay.
Back on that horse.
Yes, and it's for, you know, for good or for worse. It's got its place in time, but it's also hurt people too. You know, you look at Carrie Strug, who in the Olympics in 1966, she did not need to do the second vault. And the coach was like, you get back up there, you do it. And no one stopped her and said, are you okay? And, it wasn't about whether she was okay. And she wasn't. And she couldn't compete ever again, you know?
So that was the 96 team, the Magnificent Seven?
Yes.
That group?
Yes.
Okay. And I remember that well.
I think they didn't know at the time that she didn't need to do that the last vault in order to get the gold, that she had pretty much solidified it. But even still, no one stopped and went, this person is hurt.
Yeah, and just
it's kind of a philosophy.
Just a little bit of a mission log, the Orville tangent alert. If you're a coach and you're asking your athlete, if you're asking your player if they're good to go, they're gonna say they're good to go.
Yeah,
you can't go by that. Right? You've got to do more than that and just say like, hey, can I put you in? Can I depend on you? An athlete more times than not is going to say, yes, I'm ready to go. And then that does not absolve you of your responsibility to look out for those folks.
But I will say that sometimes you do need like a kick in the can to get like across the finish line. So it is like a really strong, I think, Simone Biles going through this as well on the very public stage is partly the reason why it's better to talk about mental health. And your point soon will be that Alara's mental health is not very good going into this. Where our athletes aren't trained to say that it's okay that I'm not feeling well right now emotionally, then probably shouldn't do it. But man, sometimes I wasn't feeling good and someone said, get out there, you got to do it. And I was like, yep, that was the right call. Yeah. So I don't know how we get to the balance of those two things. And I think Ed thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah. And his tone and his body language did, in my mind, evoke caring.
Oh, totally.
That he was trying to do what was best for her.
He was on the level with her,
Very much. Wasn't talking down to her. So a little later on, after she leaves his office, she sees the clown, and then she goes to the bridge. She goes, I need to be relieved of duty. I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
And Kelly goes, whoa, what happened? She goes, I saw a clown on C deck or wherever it was. I think it was C deck. And Ed said, usually when someone has the presence of mind to ask themselves if they're going crazy, they're not. Any thoughts on that?
The thought I have on it is many a time have I consoled myself with the same thought. When someone said that to me, a lot of things calmed down in my brain. So I actually felt really vindicated when he said that. And I tend to apply that to my talent. If someone questions if they're not talented, that means that they're talented. But I don't know if that's 100% foolproof. I think there is validity to that also, and some people in the mental health field would probably agree. But there is psychosomatic craziness, or craziness is not the right word, but symptoms where people feel like they are feeling something and they are sick and they may not be. So he's not doctoring her in this moment.
Yeah, like he should probably start with, "Hey, I'm just a captain of the Orville. It's not even a heavy cruiser. It's a mid-level exploratory vessel. So don't take any advice from me." And I feel the same way. Like, I'm no expert. I know a little bit about Star Trek, and I know how to hit the link that you send me so that I can get on the internet and we can talk about Star Trek. So that's it. But crazy, not crazy it's not a binary thing. And, with a little bit of research that I did was, yeah, you probably are able to hold on to much of your sense of reality if you're asking yourself that kind of question. It doesn't mean that things aren't starting to go wrong or things that aren't starting to slip. And people have found that when things are starting to go wrong, whether it's depression, anxiety, schizophrenia issues, other kinds of issues, so many. And again, I don't know what I'm talking about. But when these things start to come up, people do ask themselves, and they do sense a change, and they do notice that something's wrong. Now, once they progress further and all grip of reality is gone, that's when maybe you don't think you're crazy anymore. Maybe not.
Well, and you're not crazy if you have depression, right? Like,
yes,
so that's
correct.
Also a different thing too.
Yeah.
So, but you bring up an interesting point that at times people can be dismissive of how mental health presents itself. And if someone's like getting to work every day and going working out, my dad 15 years ago was laughed out of the doctor's office when he said I'm depressed because he was in the best shape of his life and working out every day. And the doctor's like, "You're not depressed, man." And my dad is still depressed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now, obviously, when Ed said that, he's talking about, you said you saw a clown. I could easily dismiss this, and I'm so glad he didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yes, let's go to the tapes.
Too. Exactly. And interestingly enough, too, which is kind of getting into the weeds, but very often women, and more than just women of color, are dismissed by doctors when they say that they have symptoms and feelings when they go to doctors. So not being believed by people that are in charge of helping us is very frustrating. And so it was nice that he took a soft pause and said, "Hey, you're probably not crazy. Let's see what's going on here."
True. Yes, and keep in mind that was all simulated, Ed. So
maybe he
really
wouldn't
happened.
Be like that. Maybe.
I think they probably Isaac probably programmed him pretty well. He's probably pretty good at computer programming, being an artificial manufactured intelligence himself. So again, I think Alara's going through a couple of things. Like, she's had some trauma, and she's also sad,
right?
Which could lead to or be the first signs of depression. And I don't know that if you were to take somebody who's been traumatized, like maybe somebody in the military, like Alara is, maybe that's why they made the point of making it clear that it is the military, and she suffered a trauma. Do you take that person and put them back in a battle simulator? Do you take that person and send them back into a war zone? I don't think so, but this is what she decided for herself. Yeah.
She decided this for herself, which, I'm sure there's some sort of therapy where it's like immersion therapy or something like that, but I don't think she lied to Claire in order to get her memory wiped.
Yep.
And then she invoked Directive 38, which is not how.
Which, hey, I'm barefoot in engineering right now, so I'm breaking that rule myself.
See, I thought that was okay. So, thank you. I don't know why they've made that rule, but she did two things wrong in order to get over this the best way she could, or how she thought she should.
But I wouldn't operate on myself. I wouldn't recommend somebody operate on themselves or treat themselves medically. You probably shouldn't be coming up with your own course of action to treat trauma and possibly early signs of depression. And
you're so right. She just hot dropped into trauma after trauma after trauma that felt very real to her. That she said Gordon died in front of her. She was being attacked over incessantly by Isaac. We don't know that more day. I mean, the fact that she's going to sleep smiling at the end of this that's the dream.
That is some
that's the simulation.
Chilean resiliency right there, man.
It can't be true. Yeah, I don't know what we're trying to say about how to move through a traumatic situation. I think you're right to kind of red flag this way of handling it.
Yeah, I agree. And, I've got a few more points to make that might be good for the kind of messages, morals, and meanings. So you ready to jump into those?
Heck yes.
All right. So this is part of the show where we talk about the messages, morals, and meanings and see if the show aligns with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy of inclusion and diversity and optimism. And
does it, Mike?
And shedding a light on things that we see here on planet Earth in the year of our recording.
Does it align, Mike?
Well, I did a little bit of research into this, not much, but I looked specifically at a couple of things. One is sort of the catch-22 of if you think you're crazy, you must not be, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the catch-22 is a term made famous by Joseph Heller in his novel of the same name, Catch-22, not Joseph Heller. And
he created the phrase?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the 1961 novel. And basically what it describes is a philosophy in the military that if you think you're crazy, then you must not be crazy. Because obviously what they're doing is crazy. So it's one of those things. It's also used for things like, you can't get a bank loan unless you have enough money to, not need a bank loan. You can't get a job without experience, but how do I get experience without a job? Those kind of things. How do I wash my pants if I only have one pair of pants and I'm supposed to be wearing pants? How do you do that?
That sounds like a big problem for you, Mike.
Well, I mean, it's a problem.
I think we need to get you some pants.
More pants. They're probably sitting in a cargo ship off of Long Beach right now.
Cheesy. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Don't get political now, Mike.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I looked this up, and it was by a blogger. And it was called Asperger's and Me is the name of the blog. And Asperger's is a form of autism spectrum disorder or just autism spectrum. That kind of caught my eye because I have a son with some spectrum issues. And he wrote this about kind of what we're talking about conflate or drawing a dividing line between mental health and physical health. And he said, or they said, excuse me, it's entirely possible to know that I'm depressed and know that I'm not seeing the world as it really is. That knowledge doesn't magically make the depression go away, nor does it magically make me see the world the way it really is. The knowledge does not fix mental illness any more than knowledge that one's leg is broken fixes the leg. Once you know your leg is broken, you can put it in a cast and it will heal over time. If you don't, your leg will certainly heal wrong. With an obvious broken leg, there's a high probability that friends or family will offer help if you need it. Similarly, mental illness needs help. You can't just say, I'm going to be better now and have it happen. You need to see a professional. You need to get treatment. You need to take care of yourself. The fact that the problem is contained within your skull does not change this. If anything, help is even harder to get. People will tell you to get better on your own. People will call medications a crutch, although a crutch is a good thing when you have a broken leg. Depression will tell you that you aren't worth helping. Mania will tell you that you don't need help. Anxiety will tell you that help is too scary. And seriously, when the lies are coming from inside your own head, they're really hard to ignore. So Alara had some of these issues, maybe kind of starting to bubble to the surface. And instead of going to Isaac to create, an environmental simulator program, she should have sought competent mental health issues. And if this episode kind of sends people away saying, man, I'm starting to have these feelings, or I'm starting to have this situation, or I'm starting to notice a difference in my mental health, and I need to solve it by myself, I think this episode might do more harm than good.
I'm going to agree with you. And actually, the buck stops with Ed. Instead of do some digging, do these things on your own. He could have also just said, you're going to take 2 weeks off and you're going to talk to Claire.
And not only that, but the mental gymnastics that the senior officers went through to explain why they thought this was okay after it was revealed that it was a environmental simulator episode.
Totally.
I was just like, no, this is not the kind of help that this person needs.
She's getting rewarded for bad behavior.
Yeah. And in good Star Trek tradition, here's where it does hold up. 0 repercussions. So I should court-martial you on the spot. I don't think that's the thing a guy can do. I think court-martials have to go through the Admiralty or something.
The Admiralty
I don't
has
know.
to be done that. Yeah. Yes, I don't think he can.
I would think. They got to have the bell, and they got to put on their dress uniforms. I've seen plenty of Star Trek. I know how these things work.
we need a meeting.
Sure. So
you got a good point. I do think it was interesting to see an actual crew member die in an actual, I thought that was
wearing not necessarily a red shirt, but a red jacket, red zip up kind of Orville looking thing.
And it it's cool to see that there are stakes. But I agree with you. I think the resolution sends the wrong message. I would agree with that.
Morals, meanings, messages. Were you able to pluck any of those out of here?
It's interesting. I think I just agree with you on a lot of these things. I think you said it very well. Do you have the name of the person who wrote that article also?
I do not. I couldn't find it in the blog.
Oh, then Autism in Me would be, or
Yes.
Asperger's in Me would be the way to find it. Great.
Yes.
Perfect. So, I'm trying to rack my brain. If what are we really, like, we're wrestling with fears and overcoming fears. I also don't think that just because she handled fire well this time doesn't mean she will again in the future. I think that's important to note as well.
Right. Or that fire should be something that you should be willing to rush into. I thought her move jumping over the console, to the other side and then throwing the bulkhead or whatever fell on Lieutenant Payne was pretty badass. I mean, yeah, she hesitated before going into the fire, but that's survival instinct. In
a weird way, she assessed the situation. Because we're learning now that survival instinct is fight, flight, and freeze. So freeze is huge with that. And sometimes it can save your life if you literally don't move.
And if you haven't seen Jurassic Park, please go back and visit Jurassic Park. It will teach you to freeze.
Freeze is probably some pretty good that's the morals, messages, and meanings from that movie.
So I think they were trying to shine a light on maybe PTSD. I think they were maybe trying to shine a light on mental health. I think they were definitely trying to show what it means to support a fellow crew member when they're going through a hard time. I'm not saying any of these things were done correctly, in my mind, but I think those issues are the issues that were raised in this episode, and God love him for raising those issues.
Sure. Totally. And God hate him for dealing with it wrong. I'm just kidding. But I think you examined this very well. And we just don't let them off the hook. I don't let Alara off the hook, and I don't let the writers off the hook.
And I don't let Claire off the hook for wiping her memory. I don't let Ed off the hook for saying this was a good idea.
Well, and Claire didn't know. Claire didn't know.
I guess you didn't know why the memory wipe. Isaac had the best answer out of all of them. She was like, "Thank you for doing this." And he goes, "You gave me an order, Lieutenant. I did not have a choice."
Yeah.
Isaac probably knew it was a bad idea.
Totally. It was such a bad idea. It's such a bad idea. It was a cool idea, but it was not the healthiest way to deal with
but it's got us talking about mental health, and it's got us talking about PTSD, and it's got us talking about supporting one another, and that's a good thing. So, what do you think? Does this episode align with?
No, I say no.
Yeah.
Actually, for once, no.
I mean, and in its defense, there's episodes of Star Trek that don't align, right?
Yeah,
totally. Nobody's going to say Code of Honor aligned with the Roddenberry Star Trek philosophy, and nobody's going to say this may be the Orville equivalent of Cat's Paw, which was a Halloween episode, season 2 of the original series. Last week we got our Valentine's Day episode. This week we got our Halloween episode,
totally.
Which, my wife said, was this released around Halloween? I was like, I looked at that. It was about 2 weeks later. I think it was like November 17th, 2017. Because I was thinking the same thing. It might have been a Halloween episode. And then again, network schedules, maybe sort of that's what it was intended for. I just do not know. So yeah, when I look at things that Star Trek is famous for, like when I tune into Star Trek, when it has gotten me through the hard parts of my life where I just needed to, kind of forget what was going on, just a little bit of old fashioned escapism and look at people and situations and things to aspire to. It was things like optimism, diversity, infinite diversity and infinite combinations, right? I guess that's not a big thing on Zalea. They're not all about, but those folks weren't in the Planetary Union also. But shining a light on real world problems, maybe, but did it offer a healthy solution? Mental health issues, recognizing mental health issues, they shined a light on it, but I think they may have done more harm than good. And I'll be the first to admit there might be things in this episode I'm missing. There are some great scenes. There was a lot of good work done by a lot of really smart people.
And you're not saying you're not saying that it was a bad episode. Right.
But I do want to point out some of the things that were good about it. Like there were some great scenes. There was a lot of good work done across the board. Scott Grimes, his stoicism during the funeral was fantastic. The look on Halston Sage's face during the eulogy, when you could see a tear fall down her face, was heartbreaking. Crazy Dr. Claire Finn, man, that was spooky. And seeing the ship in some different types of lighting and, photography, director of photography, Marvin Rush, this will give us a chance just to kind of bring in some more Star Trek ties. He took over as director of photography season 3 of Next Gen, went on to do Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and I think they did phenomenal work with the photography in this movie and the camera work. I mean, I thought it was brilliant. It just kind of, the payoff was again, not really what I was looking for. So, if this is your favorite episode, if we totally missed the boat, if you think that, man, this wasn't about that at all, it was about something else, or somebody could say, man, I was going through the same thing in my life, and this episode actually helped me, please let us know how. Please let me know how. I would love to hear that. And I would love to hear how this helped you, because I think it could. I just think I would like to hear more.
I think that's the best way to be open. And I think you've gotten to be such a thoughtful human in your life by hearing more and being open to other people's, ways of being. I think more people experience depression and mental health issues than they do not in the world. But some people who don't understand depression don't know what we talk about when we're talking about it. So I think a different perspective would be welcome, and you're always open to that. And I do admire you for that, for sure.
Well, thank you very much.
Mission Log The Orville is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, executive producer Rod Roddenberry. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is podcast.roddenberry.com.
Join us next time on Mission Log The Orville as we discuss New Dimensions.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.